All right. Hey, stud and studettes. Welcome to the Tats and Chats Encounters. Today, I've got some pretty badass people here in the studio. I've got Coach Bricks sitting across from me here. He's a renowned trainer and coach of EXSP. He is my daughter's personal trainer. One of his favorite sayings for me is eradicate the softness. I mean, I'm telling you, it's one of the most badass sayings I've ever said. And I have to admit, I have definitely used it a number of times.
That's good.
With other people.
We have to, man.
Yeah, right?
Way too much in this world right now.
And on the other side, I've got Brandon Johnson. He's a local standout athlete from Middletown, PA, right down the street from the studio. He went on to play football at Penn State and with the Steelers. Now, guys, I mean, you'll be able to see him on camera. The guy's a freaking freak. I mean, what, 6'2", 230?
230.
Yeah. I'm 5'11", like 230. I'm fat, you know. But I shook his hand. The guy's a fucking stud. Like, seriously. You know, and Coach, I mean, when you're dealing with athletes like him, which he's a freak. Mm-hmm. I mean, at the end of the day, he's a freak.
Yep.
I mean, what's it like, you know, because you have your successful training facility, you have dealt with many pro athletes and you know, people that want to be professional athletes. And, you know, and here in the studio, we have one.
Yeah.
I mean, that's him,
yeah.
You know. I mean, what's it like?
It's very interesting. You can tell the standout from these guys. You know, I had the pleasure of working with Ethan Cooper, another stud, who's like 330. He's playing for the Giants right now, 6'4", and can just run around, you know, fly. And I think that's what separates them, is that they have something inside them, some of the ability that they just want to be better.
Yeah.
You know, I think we all have that, but I think somewhere it stops. And with like people like Brandon here, who just are a stud. I mean, he's a running back, a 6'2", 230, but he runs a 4'3". I mean, that's what he was clocked at coming out of Penn State. I mean, that's not too typical of most athletes.
And let me interrupt you.
Mm-hmm.
That was with, and we were just talking here before we got started, that was with some pretty incredible injuries.
Yeah.
I mean, you have, you know, in the news, we have heard of other athletes, you know, career-ending injuries that you have had, knees, you know. But you've had 2? 4? And you were still able to work that hard to get yourself back to that level.
Yeah, it took a lot of work, but I broke my left leg and then 3 ACL tears on the right.
You know, Coach, I mean, that right there is, you know.
That's somebody who wants it.
Yeah.
That's somebody who didn't stop because of they found the roadblock and, you know, I don't know where to go. He found a roadblock, he hit the roadblock, and he found a way around it and continued to go on. I mean, most people would give up after 1, 2, 3, they're done.
Yeah.
He says, I have 4 and I'm still going to try.
Yeah.
And he kept working himself up. And even when he came to me, I mean, he was still having a lot of pain in his knees and stuff like that, but he wouldn't give up. You know what I mean? He said, still limiting me, still, you know, not letting me do quite what I want to do. And he kept working. You know what I mean? We kept, you know, finding ways to get him to feel better and stuff like that. And you probably your best in 2-3 years that your legs fell?
I'd say 4 years.
Yeah.
It started 4 years ago.
You know what I mean? But that's him. You know, he puts the work in. Yeah, I might guide somebody, but it's all, at the end of the day, it's them. It has nothing to do with me. It has to do with them.
Now, I've got to say, when I had first met you and how we came about that, you know, Katie was looking to get, you know, Katie, Division I field hockey player, scholarship at Wake Forest as a goalie on the USA U19 national team. So she didn't feel that she was getting, you know, good enough training. And I said, well, you know, search for somebody. And you had come up. Mm-hmm. And I remember, like, you know, now I know my daughter, you know, and I love her to death. And you know, so I know what gyms are used to being like that she's around. And I walked into your gym, and your gym reminded me of like the Dorian Yates time, you know, like bare bones minimum.
Yeah.
Like, if you're coming in here, you're going to sweat because I don't have air conditioning. Yeah. You know, you're going to work hard because that's what I believe in. You know, I love the patriotic side of your gym, and you you make kids want and to work hard.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I was scared. I was scared for Katie, the first time, coming in. Like I said, I know my kid, so it's like, I'm like thinking, oh, this is going to be rough. And I'm telling you what, it takes a lot to gain her respect, and you have won it 1,000 times over.
I appreciate that.
And because I think because she's an athlete, but she's all girl. She loves her makeup, she loves her tans and this and that, and so that's what scared me, like going into your place, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, there's no frills to it.
Yeah, like you're like, hey, this is the bare bones minimum. I'm going to kick your ass every day, but I tell you what, you're going to come out of there incredible. Mm-hmm. And I have to say, when she got down and did some of her testing, I mean, she tested off the charts.
That's awesome.
Which again just clarifies why he can be such a monster, being trained by someone like you, and you don't have to have these, the best painted walls or the newest gear or whatever. You got to have the heart. You need that heart rate there to become successful.
Yeah. I agree 100%. It's not. I think everybody gets caught up nowadays with these fancy equipment, fancy machines, fancy things, and they're all nice. I mean, they're all nice, like nice shiny new toy. But at the end of the day, he has to take his body out in the field.
Yep.
He doesn't take that neck machine, doesn't take his chest press machine, doesn't take the sleds or anything else. While they all help, he doesn't get to do that. He has to take his body and he has to know how to move it efficiently and effectively on that field where he doesn't get hurt. Or if he's in a position that he might get hurt, how does his body react to get out of that?
Yeah.
I think that's what I try to work with these guys, and that's what they do extremely well.
Well, what was it like, Brandon, growing up? I mean, you lived in Middletown. Mm-hmm. I'm from Williamsport, so about the same size. I mean, the town itself is bigger, but I grew up in a suburb, Du Bois Town, mm-hmm. which is probably about the same size as Middletown. We grew up in a single A school. We graduated like 113 kids, which might be a little smaller than you guys.
Yeah, a little smaller.
But that same small town mentality. How did you go from such a small school who generally doesn't, the Division I schools aren't looking at, us, Now, we were second in the state in our year when we played Dunmore, and like that was the year of Tim Ruddy that went to Notre Dame, and like we had a kid go to NC State, Cornell, Lafayette. I went to Midland Lutheran. How did you do that? I mean, how do you educate him or someone like that to, because we're going to get into, like parents and how you're going to, bring up a child. Like, when did you want to know that you wanted to go to play Division I football? I mean, because everyone wants to, you're throwing the football around in the yard, and you got your Eagles helmet on that you got at Kmart, with the plastic face mask, and, but at some point in time, that dream starts to become a reality in 8th grade, 9th grade,
mm-hmm.
How?
I think for me, I'd say it started probably around like 8 years old. I started playing Madden, and you start creating your own player, and I think in high school I really started to get the itch for it. Even though like I kept having injuries and stuff, I don't know, it just every year it just grew more and more and more. But the only thing in high school was I had bad grades. So
I feel you.
Yeah, hell yeah. For me, it was like I was in school to play football. I wasn't here for school. So like every year, whenever I got hurt, I'm not playing football, so I'm not doing school.
Yeah.
So my grades suffered from it. But
So what was your mom and dad? Was the school supporting you in that aspect, knowing that you were an athlete? And because Coach, I'm sure you know this, I mean, we're guys, listen, when we went to school, I don't know about yours, but like we had like academic, business, and general. Most of the general kids were at tech school. The business kids were the ones that didn't know algebra or just didn't apply themselves or stuff like that. I certainly know I was passed through, in high school. Was the school there to support you, in those situations?
I wouldn't say the school as a whole, but yeah, like I had certain teachers that would pull me aside and try to, boost me up, tell me to get my head right.
Yep.
But
It's hard.
yeah, it really is.
It is. So from that standpoint, then as you started from injury to injury to injury, you get to graduation. What happened next? Like how did you transition again, going from a small school to where you were a stud to going to a college where everyone's a stud?
There's actually a little bridge in between
Okay.
high school and Penn State. At the end of my senior year in high school, I sat down with my high school coach.
Okay.
And I had told him that, I'm going to play D1. I want to go to Penn State. And he was like, athletically you can, but grades-wise, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So he basically mapped it out for me. And I had like a 1.7 GPA. I couldn't even get into a damn D3 school.
Yeah.
So he told me if I go to a JUCO,
Yep.
get my degree, associate's degree, I can pretty much go wherever I want to.
Transfer over.
So that's
Yeah.
what I did. I went to a junior college in Minnesota, went there for 2 years. I only played one. I redshirted my first year.
Okay.
But, got my degree and then went to Penn State.
And Coach, I love that idea. Like I love that concept because I think, and as I had spoken a minute ago, I personally don't think that kids and parents, what we'll talk about here a little later, I don't think they have an understanding of the Division I level. Whether he athletically was able to handle it, there's so much more. I mean, so much more. You've got your training, you've got your classes, whether you've got basket weaving or an actual psychology class, like you've got to be there. You have these things that now are, especially now comparative back when we went to school, are a lot more monitored. But there's so much more. And I don't think, as we'll discuss later, these parents, and I'm not speaking for your parents, but I know for mine, like I had a semi, successful athletic career, so I didn't need to push myself on my kids. I mean, how often do you see that? Parents pushing their desires on a Brandon.
Yeah, I think it's happening more and more, and it's a shame. It really disappoints me at where we're at in youth athletics. I think we're heading in the wrong direction in the sense of how parents are so overbearing. My son's not playing. My son's not doing this. I want to live through my son or my daughter. And I think it's the wrong take. People have asked me, why haven't you put your daughter, who's 7 years old, in a soccer league? And I'm like, she's 7. Well, my kid started when he was 5. I'm like, that's great. That's your kid. I said, but I truly believe it's too early yet to put him in. Now, I'm not saying she shouldn't play sports. She shouldn't get out there and run around. But you and I growing up, let's be honest, it's a whole different world than what these kids grew up with. We went around and ran around all summer long. We
Absolutely.
never came inside. And it was not organized. We organized it between
Correct.
our friends where it might have been a football game, but it was our rule football game.
Correct.
We made stuff up. And that's what changed throughout society. Now these parents now all of a sudden are like, I want to live through my kids because I wasn't a great athlete, but I know my kid can if I put him in this,
yeah.
exactly.
Yep.
10,000 different things. And if the kid doesn't want it, he doesn't want it. I mean, no matter what you do, I mean, you can, threaten them and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, they got to want it. And somebody like Brandon, you look at, he wanted it. You know what I mean? That's why it's easy. People ask me, how do you deal with some of the kids? And there are some kids that I know are in there that are pushed in there by the parents.
Yeah.
And I try to make it the most. I try to make it the best, or I try to make it more fun. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to beat them up like I'm going to do with Brandon because I know they're not going to go.
Correct. They're not going to be able to handle
it. But with Brandon, I had to push him to make sure he's ready to go for the demands he's going to play. So I just wish parents would wake up
Well, how
in
hard is
today's
that?
society. It's not. It's very hard because the parents just aren't waking up. It's getting worse. It's not getting better. It's getting worse in that respect with these parents of today just thinking that their kid. And listen, we should all think our kids are the best. I'm not knocking that one bit. Everybody should think their kid's the best. Okay, that's why I have them. But you also have to think of reality. Reality is my kid might not ever play college sports. They're probably not going to get a college scholarship. They're not going to go on the pros. But everybody thinks that. And I'm not saying you don't have dreams, but let's think about reality here. And that's what we're not doing
That's
enough
the realism.
of. Yes. And people don't have that anymore. And that's why you're seeing these crazy lunatics that you see on TV YouTube and stuff like that just go out of control when their kid, isn't playing or, doesn't score 20 points a game and the coach sits him because of his bad attitude and stuff. And it's rubbing off on the kids.
Yeah.
Well, I'm the best. Why aren't you playing me? But you really can't even dribble the ball and tie your shoe with this. You know what I mean? So I don't know how I'm supposed to play. My dad said I'm the best, so I'm the best. And it's starting to really affect youth sports, and it's almost to the point where, I get sick and tired of dealing with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Hearing that stuff over and over again.
And from a business standpoint, how do you go to that parent and talk to them, about their because let's be honest. Billy sees Brandon in their training, and Billy's in 11th grade. Billy sees what a badass he is. So he thinks, like, if I do this, this, and this, I'm going to be like him. The parents, and Billy's, trying to do those things. So the parents got him on some fad diet. They've got him taking these supplements. They've got him doing this. They've got him what they consider the best trainer. And Billy isn't getting any faster. Billy hasn't grown an inch. And Billy still, his athletic ability is A.
Mm-hmm.
Parents come to Coach Bricks. What are you doing? You're not training my kid right. It's your fault. It's this. Mm-hmm. But I think personally is that where parents fail is they don't look at genetics first. Like that's got to be that's got to be the first thing.
Main thing.
Huge. One of the top things.
And people and I wrote that in a book I wrote. Like you got to look at mom and dad, or look down the gene pool, a little further down. Like where's this child coming from? And unfortunately, as such an elite coach as you are and trainer, is that no matter how many drills you have this kid do, you might take off a 1/10 of a second off of 40, 2/10 of a second maybe. No,
you can. It just depends on where they're at, but yeah, it's somebody like Brandon. If you got a 1/10 off of his, I'd be taking like 5/10 or 6/10 off somebody else's.
Exactly.
So it just depends on where they're at. But you're right. In that case of where they're at on their spectrum is what people have to realize, and genetics is one of the big keys that drives it, and it's also what's inside.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Then I was going to say the heart.
Yeah.
If you're not willing to put in the time and the effort like him, like you had said earlier, a lot of these kids will use one injury, let alone 4, devastating. Now, guys, listen, you have to understand his injuries, in theory, to the average person, totally career-ending, right?
Yeah. 4 of them definitely would get you to that point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We've come so far, which is great with technology. 20 years ago, you have an ACL, it's like, you're done.
Yeah.
We'll rehab you, but your chances of coming back are like 10%.
Yeah.
Now it's like a 95% return. 1. You're talking about 3?
Yeah.
And then a broken leg?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And then, like he had just said, and you had said, he feels better now. That proves again his heart, and then on top of it, his genetics, that have all sort of been gelled together very well. That has allowed him to continue on his dream of professional sports and being a great athlete, and ultimately a great role model. Yeah. I think here, having someone like him on the show for young kids that, that are going to be watching their parents, I think it's important to realize that, this is a role model, in the truest fashion. It's not someone who has, done it, got to the top, and really with nothing in between.
Yep.
Like, he has had the setbacks.
Yep.
So he can sit here and educate someone on, listen, hey, you want to do this? I had a 1.7 GPA. Get your head out of your ass. Yep. You got to do that, dude. And if you can't, listen, some kids they're, academically, it's tough for them. Yeah. So now you can speak, you can educate them on, the JC route. Yep. Hey, take this route. Because it's not so, don't get me wrong. What I don't think people and you guys in the audience have to understand is that the JC route isn't necessarily easier, because there's all the people at the JC route want to get to that next level, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they're studs trying to get
Yep.
to the next step. So don't think that it's,
Yep.
it's a very strong competitive market there, right?
A lot of those are D1 athletes.
Exactly.
That didn't take care of their grades. You're high D2.
Yeah.
And look at him. Had to go JUCO, but he's a stud. Anywhere
Yeah.
else, if you had a 6'2", 230-pound running back who ran that fast, you'd be like, wow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That kid should be at Auburn, should be at USC or something like that.
Yeah.
But because of the grades, he didn't take care of. He had to go that route.
Yep.
And then boom, you have all those other kids that are like that too.
Yep.
Some bunch of other studs. So yeah, it's not an easier route whatsoever.
No, so there again, it comes back to my point of why, to look up to someone like him, because he's real. Like, it doesn't get any more fucking real than him.
Yep.
It really doesn't.
Yeah, you're right.
You can look at all these other athletes who have had that went from high school and jumped right into D1, couldn't mentally handle the red shirt, or I'm not getting the ball, 20 times, because they had a Saquon that just happened to, walk, be there, and it's like, oh shit, he got recruited at the same time, whatever, so mentally you have fought every battle, not only through injuries through high school, but then fought through the grade issue, then fought through, redshirting at JC, going, playing, and then living your dream. I mean, how fucking awesome is that?
Yeah, it was pretty rewarding.
I mean, do you see but I'm an outsider looking in, and how much respect I have for you two sitting across from me, because I see you, and listen, I'm not, I see you as a role model.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever looked at yourself as something like that? Like when you're in his gym, I'm sure kids, are scared to come up and say hi, and
Oh, there's no question.
stuff like that. Oh my God, it's Pittsburgh Steeler, and stuff like that, and and those kids, I know are snapping, they're tweeting, they're on their gram, like trying to hide their phone and take a picture of you, and and be like, oh my God, like there's Brandon Johnson, he's like working out with me. I mean, that's got to be cool. I mean, do you see yourself as that?
Not really. Like I never really looked at myself as a role model or this kind of person. I don't know.
Well, I just fucking labeled you.
I appreciate it.
You're a role model. You are. I mean, seriously, you're.
But usually I don't know. I just feel like I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do, and I really don't think much of it.
That's his humbleness right there.
And that's, boy, we fucking need more of that, don't we?
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right, especially in pro athletics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? So I had just said about like working out at his facility and around the younger kids. Have you ever thought about like mentoring some, like talking to some, or things like that? Have you ever had that like capability? Have any of your parents ever approached you, or
I've never been approached, but every once in a while I'll try to help someone out when I see them doing an exercise, if they're doing it wrong, or something little like that. But I haven't really thought about mentoring.
I don't think he. I'm just going to jump in here because I'm going to steal it right now because I see it. Nobody's really actually probably approached him per se like that, but he doesn't know the impact that he has.
Yeah.
I have a running back right now, played at Redland down at Lincoln University. Those two guys are tight as hell. They didn't know each other before the other kid came in and stuff like that, but Brandon helps him out big time. Big time, but
awesome.
He doesn't say anything. He doesn't say, the kid didn't go up to him and say, hey, will you do it? Brandon just went up to him to help him. Now, did it help Brandon out too? No question about it. You can always learn something from somebody. If you don't, then you're an idiot.
Yeah.
I don't care if they're younger than you or whatever. You always should learn something from somebody else. And that's what I think Brandon took. Brandon took that as, I can learn something from him, but I'm going to help him out because I was there. I know what it's like. I know the struggle, blah, 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 and stuff like that. And he's done it with a couple kids. It's not just him. That's just one that stands out because I know, they both play the same position and stuff like that. I know the kid is, 5'8", 5'9". Now, he's built like a tank.
Yeah.
They call him Tank.
5'8", 200.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, he's jacked, but he doesn't have the straight, the physicality. And you see it, you're going to look at both of them. Who are you going to take?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're going to look at him because of the height and stuff
Yep.
like that. And rightfully so. I mean, this kid's a
Yeah.
stud. But I think he gets overshadowed, the other kid. But he's took him under his wings and has helped him out. Hey, this is what you want to do here. This is what you want to do there. He doesn't even know it. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to plug him because I know he won't mention that stuff.
Yeah.
Just being humble there.
And see, and that's awesome. I mean, because I got to be honest, I have been in a lot of gyms across the country, where professional athletes are, or Division I athletes, and a ton of them are so standoffish. Like, why? It's like you and I both sit on that shitter and we wipe our ass the exact same, dude. Like,
Yep.
your bathroom might be a little bit bigger than mine, but we wipe our ass the same.
Yep.
I mean, that's the way I personally think.
The same way.
Because I deal with so many different people on so many different levels. I mean, some days I'm in work pants and boots and driving truck with somebody, or for the show, or another day I'm sitting with a billionaire. And I never look at that truck driver any less than I would look at that billionaire.
Yeah.
I look at everyone the same, and if that billionaire doesn't like it, I don't know what to fucking tell you.
You're right.
Because that should never make someone better or worse than someone else.
Good person.
I mean, that's
person. Yeah,
exactly. Good person is a good person.
Doesn't matter if they have $1 million or they have $1.
Yep, a good person's a good person.
Exactly.
You
We need more of them. In my honest opinion, we need more people just to be humble like Brandon, who are just willing just to step in. You know what I mean? Not take credit. He'll never take credit for anything. He's just that humble kind of guy that he just comes in, does his thing. I have to admit it that my daughter, she's 3 years old, and she's pretty shy.
Yeah.
She was shy, I should say.
I've met your kids.
They're crazy. They're crazy. Yeah, they're crazy because because of me. But she's shy, and she takes to this guy better than anybody.
Hold on. So he's got 2 beautiful little girls, but oh my God, because I have 2 girls, but one is 18 and 21. His aren't, so I am laughing when they're coming out of the gym like, oh, she did this and she did that, and I love your reactions. It's the best. So. But I had to say, your kids are freaking awesome at the
gym.
They
take after mom.
So, yeah.
They took after me. Holy, you can imagine how ugly they would be. Holy jeez. Like, get that kid out of here. You know what I mean? I take after me in the sense of just running around and just being crazy. But, you know what I mean? I think I did take after mom's looks. But she goes right to him. Like, right on the way down, we had to drop her off at preschool. So I brought Brandon with me because it's on the way. And she's talking to him the whole time. Hey, Brandon, do you see me over here? Do you see me over here? That's not like her. You know what I mean? But but he doesn't even know the impact he has on her. And I think that's the best part. He doesn't even know the impact that he makes. And even though she's 3, the impact that it makes, because now she's coming out of her shell.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where she was very reserved. Now she's coming out of her shell. And I owe credit to the guys like Brandon, you know what I mean, who helped bring her out where she feels comfortable enough. Because he makes her feel comfortable. Because, like you said, if he was standoffish, she'd never go up to him.
Yeah.
She wouldn't go up to him. But because he is an outgoing, person and, willing to help people out, that she went up to him.
So I have to ask, I mean, I don't know if you can interject, this is more, for you, Coach, but how do you deal with some of the parents who aren't realistic? Because I know, you go to some of your athletes' games. So you're sitting in the stands as her coach and trainer, which some people may not know you as that, to her, that particular person. So how do you deal with, Mary's parents who's, in the stands complaining Mary's not playing or something like that because Janie is pitching over, her? I mean, what's your reaction and personal view on, again, as we had talked about, these parents nowadays, everyone thinks their kid is a Division I athlete. Mm-hmm. So they saw him, run a little football across the living room when they started walking and said, "Oh my God, he's going to be a running back when he grows up."
Yeah, you're right.
So when you're sitting there, what computes through your brain? Knowing again that you have this business, because listen, I'm a business person. You got to walk a fine line, brother.
Yeah,
right?
You're right.
Like you can't tell. I mean, you can't tell unrealistic parents that your kid's going to be a fucking Division III player, right?
Yeah.
Because what am I going to say? I'm going to be like, fuck you.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. I think it's always is a fine line. I try to be as honest as possible with whatever I do. So I try to lay it out. Like, listen, here's where your kid's at. This is what their ability is. Okay? Right now. I'm not saying it has to stay there. And I think that's what some people misinterpret. I think they look at their kid's ability and like, I'm unbelievable. And I'm like, here are your guys you're going against. Here are your other Division I records. Here are their numbers, blah, blah, blah. I'm just going off the average. Here, your kid doesn't come anywhere close to this average.
Yeah.
So if they want to get here, this is what they need to do.
So let's stop there. Mm-hmm. What's the reaction? So when you
Well, they kind of like.
so when you say Brandon runs a 4.3, he's 6'3", 230. Jason, you're 5'10", 5, hey Louie, because that was my dad's name. Louie, Jason's 5'11", 200 pounds, and runs a 4.5. He's probably looking Division III.
The reaction is usually what you just gave me, in the sense of you don't know what the hell you're talking about. And then I try to put out, listen, I'm not saying they have to stay there. It's what they're willing to work. And sometimes it is luck, let's be honest. Brandon, first one to admit it. There's sometimes that luck comes into who makes it. I mean, hell, you can have a guy who blows a knee out who's unreal.
Yeah.
An unreal athlete, and never recovers from it, and all of a sudden they're not playing. But yet they were given that. I mean, you almost look back to the Friday Night Lights movie.
Right.
Boobie Miles, boom,
Yeah.
he's going to all these places, and all of a sudden not.
Yeah.
And you can look to things like that. But when you tell a parent that, like you said, you have to walk the fine line. So I try to give it at both senses, in the sense of, listen, I'm not saying your son can't play Division I. I'm not saying that at all, because I don't know what's going to happen.
Yep.
But I'm going to tell you, at the rate they're at now, right here, where these numbers stand and stuff like that, the chances are slim.
Yeah.
But if you're willing to put the time into it and put the work in and accomplish these goals, your chances are going to go up. Nothing's guaranteed in life. The only thing guaranteed, I tell everybody, is death. It's the only thing we all know it's going to happen to us.
Yep.
Nothing else is guaranteed. And once we get over that part, I think people can then realize, like, okay, I can at least have reality checks and stuff like
Yeah.
that. There's some people you will never get through. I don't care what you say to them. I don't care if their kid's 5'2", a senior, weighs 110 pounds. They still think he's going Division I.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a parent like that. Could not convince him any other way. Sad thing about that was, when he got into 10th grade, he quit football because dad was overbearing. And that's the problem, I think, and I wish parents would understand this. If they go on to college, and Brandon and I talked about this on the way down, and they get a scholarship, that's a bonus.
Yeah.
That's a bonus in life, okay? If they go on to the pros, that's probably one of the greatest bonuses
Correct.
you can have. How many people in this country, standing right here, 320-some million people, actually have ever played in the professional ranks?
Right?
They got paid to play.
Absolutely.
Slim to none.
Yep.
Okay, let's be honest. So what are we then trying to set them up for? Let's set them up for real world life.
Yep.
Okay, and that's why I try to tell them, is that you're trying to set these guys up for, hey, if you work hard, you're going to have a better work ethic. So most likely you're going to go for a job. It's between the three of us.
Yep.
I outwork both you guys when it comes for our internship.
Yep.
Who most likely going to get that job to?
Him.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So those are the kind of things that go there, and I think that's what we have to do, is try to teach them the basic, laws of life.
Yep.
And if we're not doing that at that young age, and we just think, hey, listen, you didn't get what you got because this coach hates you, or because this person hates you and this board doesn't
Yeah.
like you, then we're just teaching them they're going to fail in life. They're going to fail.
And I think, it's funny you say that, because, it's a proven fact that athletes get hired over non-athletes because employers look at the work ethic, whether sometimes it's Division III or Division I.
Yep.
They look at the work ethic that they know that they had to put into practice, getting up early, and if they have that type of drive to do those things to better themselves and better the team, then more likely they're going to keep those same mentality and use it in the workforce.
Yeah.
And I think and I think that's what's sad. And actually, I have some video I want to watch with you guys. About some crazy parents, and their reactions. YouTube. We love YouTube because it has everything.
Yeah.
And we can sort of comment on that. But it's it's very important for people to realize it may be your dream dad or mom for your kid to go to Division I, but if you make the sport fun, then there's an education that can come from that. And then on top of that, there can come the professional side. Listen, nowadays, especially in the economy, whether you like Trump or don't like Trump, it's hard to hire people because, there's jobs out there and people are applying for them. I have restaurants and cafes and other things, and let me tell you, man, it's hard to, it's hard to find people. So it's slim pickings on what's out there. So employers are really looking at, they're taking a lot closer look at people, which is awesome.
Yeah, I agree.
You know?
I think that's the education part's the big key.
The most important.
I think we're learning in the strength and conditioning field. I was just at a conference this past weekend, and one of the things is what's going on with long-term athletic development.
Yeah.
And it's not just sports, but it's just long-term athletic development overall. And it's why kids are having more problems, more anxiety problems, why more suicides are higher, certain.
Yeah.
You know, why are kids failing at a higher rate when it comes to, you know, how they deal with life and things like that. And a lot of it goes back to not developing kids in the athletic realm in the sense of letting them out and play.
Yeah.
Let them fail in life. They're going to fail. They're going to fall. You don't have to be there every time to catch them. They're going to get cut. They're going to get bruises. Tell them to get up, wash it off, and go back out. You know what I mean? But we don't do that anymore. We coddle to everything they do. We don't want them to have any pain in life at a young age. So when they get older, they have the pain and they don't know how to deal with it. But if we can get through the long-term athletic development part of it, getting them to understand and having a healthier lifestyle. Let's be honest. Imagine if you had no pain. Imagine if you could walk through life, okay, 80 years old, 90 years old, never had hip pain, never had low back pain, never had ankle pain, never had this. How many people can honestly say that in this world right now?
Yeah.
You could probably put them in this room, and I guarantee you we'd have plenty of space left.
Right.
But why? Because of what we're doing to kids. We're beating the crap out of them, trying to tell them to be on 15,000 different teams and things like that, because we're trying, as parents, trying to live out our dreams through them. And I see a bad trend going.
So I have one question for Brandon. Mm-hmm. Through your injuries, how influential were your parents to keep you going? Or did you rely more on just yourself or like a coach?
It was, I say the majority of it was probably myself.
Yeah.
I mean, my parents were definitely there to support me though, but I feel like,
because, dude, you had to be sitting in your room some nights and be like, okay.
I'm about to say every night. Damn, like it was definitely tough. It was hard as hell, but I say my friends too.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I don't know if I would have said that, because friends, in that situation, well, maybe because you're young, a lot younger. I see like some kids, are very jealous of someone, like that. So maybe they're almost like, I don't want to say glad he got knocked down a rung, but almost glad that he got knocked down a rung.
Well, I mean, most of them played other positions, so it's
Yeah.
not really.
It wasn't
like that. Yeah. But yeah, I feel like my friends were a good part of that too. I know my dad's definitely supportive. My mom's, she's real supportive. But like my dad, back to what you said earlier, for the parents, like almost pushing their dreams onto their child, that's definitely not a good thing. It's a good thing whenever it's a mutual thing. Like my dad played football, wanted to go to the NFL. Unfortunately, he didn't make it.
Okay.
And then wanted me to go. I want to go too. So it was a good.
It was a mutual.
Exactly.
Like, it was a mutual dream.
But if it wasn't, I can see why it's not a good thing. Like a parent pushing that onto their child could definitely kill the love for the game. Like they might not even want to do that kind of stuff anymore. But yeah, I say I had a pretty good support system.
Yeah. Well, I definitely want to watch some of these videos. With some of these crazy parents. Now, listen, this is open dialogue. You can talk right through it.
Oh shit.
I mean, I don't think the ref should have touched him.
Yeah.
But where's that kid learning the unsportsmanlike, comments,
No, I agree. I definitely should not have touched him, but we're creating a society that if you don't like something, then just cry about it and go fight somebody for it.
Yeah.
And get your way.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, for that I wouldn't have ran out onto the field yet.
Yeah, and I think
If he'd have slammed my kid, then I would have.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, right there, what are we teaching? Okay, so if I pause it there, let's talk about let's talk about this, that situation right there. You coach wrestlers. I've seen them in your gym. In that scenario there, dad, right or wrong?
Dad's wrong. I mean, if that's a move that's used and there's nothing illegal about it, I mean, listen, injuries happen.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody says. We can cry about them all day long, but injuries happen in sports.
Yeah.
Wrestling's a higher rated injury, and you got to be able to handle the situation. Going up then and pushing the kid, is that the right situation then? I mean, look what he did.
Yeah.
Could he have hurt the other kid then?
Right.
Then he thinks he's okay. Well, my kid's hurt. Well, let me go hurt this other kid. Whatever
Yeah.
the reason is. But it's not the other kid's fault. He's 11 years old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's just doing a move. And if the move's legal, then the father's all at fault here, 100%. And he should be reprimanded. But once again, probably won't be reprimanded. And his kid now will learn, hey, I'm allowed to do whatever I want then. You know what I mean? So I don't like something, then boom, I'm just going to go flip out on somebody as well.
Correct. So let's talk a minute about us growing up. My dad would have never done that. Like, you got your ass kicked on the field. You got your ass kicked at school.
Yeah, it was during the match.
Right? Like, I can't. What in society has changed that you're not teaching that? I'm sorry that the younger child, the child might have had a shoulder injury or whatever. But listen, you wanted him in wrestling. Very tough sport. I mean, tough mentally, tough physically. Everything on the spectrum. Wrestling is a real deal sport. Okay, so you're putting your kid into this. Whether it's a low level, maybe a middle school or tournament or whatever, I mean, listen, you're going to get lumps and bumps. No different than we saw, the Pee Wee football. That was probably, well, we called it Pee Wee football, back then. Who knows what they call it now? But I mean, where have we lost it in society that parents are acting like that?
Yeah, I just speaking from experience, I think it's just parents put everything they have into their sports.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In their child sports. And listen, there's great people that I know that I'm friends with and stuff like that. I'm acquaintances with, I should say, and I see how they act, and I'm appalled by that reaction because my father is probably the most non-athletic guy in the world. Never played a sport, could care less. The reason he put us in sports was for the right reason. He put him in because he goes, first of all, you got to get exercise and
Yep.
move around and socially. And second of all, I think it's because he had 4 boys, all within a 5-year span. He didn't know what the hell to do.
Yeah.
I think he was just like, wow, there's a lot of energy I got to expend here trying to work and do this, which is fine. He did what he was supposed to do. But he never. I mean, I remember when I acted up in sports, if I argued with a ref, he'd be the first one after the game, grab me, boom, put me up against the wall, said, you ever act like that again, ever, where you disrespect somebody like
Right.
that, you're done.
Yeah.
You're not playing again. And
You never
he
wanted
puts
to
it
go
in.
home.
No. I was more afraid to go home than my
Correct.
coach. Hell, my coach was a hell of a lot easier than what, even if the coach punished me, say, hey, we got, 10 suicides tomorrow. That was easy compared to what my father was going to do.
Yeah.
And I think people don't have that fear anymore because the father backs them up or the parents back them
They
up.
don't have that. They can't use that saying.
That's true.
You can't. There's no fear.
Yeah.
It depends on how much you bring your old style of being parented into your parenting.
Yeah.
I mean, I had girls, so it was very new, to me. But it was certainly something that I had failed as a father a couple times with Katie. I was that parent. In 7th grade when they initially had said, so she's 13 and she's playing U19 field hockey, and parents are like, oh, she's, you got a Division I athlete, and this and that, and like you get wrapped up into it because you got so many people coming to you, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, so I know what it takes to really work hard. So, we got to go to this practice and that practice and this trainer and that trainer. And, it's 7 days a week. And, you got to miss this, you got to miss that. And then it's like, and then she's crying. And, it's like, oh my God, what am I? Then you step back and think, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
And then it's like, then you shut all the noise of everyone else around you out. Mm-hmm. And then you sit down with your child and be like, okay, here's the deal. You're super athletic. This is the road that you can go. I apologize for being a douche, but I want you to be a kid as much as I want you to be a star athlete. So you tell me as a parent what I need to do for you to accomplish both. Mm-hmm. And there were times that she had to be, she knew she had to be at this tournament, but she wanted to be at the beach. So she gets done with the tournament, and I drive my ass 4 hours one way to get her to the beach for 1 or 2 days so she can be a kid. Yep. And I drive back. So you look at a 12-hour, 16-hour, time that dad takes out of his schedule. But, how many parents, are doing that? Yep. How many parents are realizing that they will get more out of their child to allow them to be a kid also, yep, and put the time, but parents don't. I personally think that parents don't put that time in to the kid.
Well, why should they? I mean, look at it. I speak to many parents on this. I said, what's the number one babysitter that we have right now today? It's our TVs.
Oh, absolutely.
And our electronics.
Yeah.
We have used electronics and TVs to babysit our kids.
Yeah.
So the garbage that goes into their head is that. Why? Because it's easy. So if I have to get work done, what do? Flip the damn TV on, the kid's going to be mesmerized, or give them a computer or a tablet or whatever the hell it is. I mean, these kids have stuff that, when we had to come up with stuff, you and I had to go outside and invent stuff. We're crazy stuff. We're going in the back room if it's raining. But we still went outside when it's raining.
Absolutely.
Because we didn't want to be inside. But we would have to do those kind of things. These kids don't have to do that now.
Well, so we've taken that.
Oh, yeah, there's no question about it. They were the greatest.
Yeah.
But that's what I think parents have gotten to that point where they're just lazy. They're honestly lazy to deal with that kind of stuff. Yeah, don't get me wrong. They take their kids to the 15 different practices that they have. I'm not saying that. But we've used electronics to babysit our kids. Mm-hmm. And instead of taking time out and saying, you know what, work's important, no question about it. But you know what, eventually I'm going to die. And Brandon and I were talking about it on the way down. And I don't know anybody who lays on their deathbed saying, man, I really wish I would have worked more hours.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody.
Amen.
I mean, I don't know anybody who says, hey, man, I hope I can work 14. I wish I would have worked 14 more hours this week.
Yeah.
Nobody says that. And I think we've forgotten that point.
Because they'll definitely say, I wish I spent more time with my kid.
Exactly. You took time out to be, okay, my daughter she has to be here because she made a commitment to field hockey. But you know what? She has to be a kid. And kids aren't kids anymore. Then you decided to say, all right, you're going to be a kid.
Yep.
You know what I mean? We don't do that. We don't have kids anymore in the sense of what you and I remember.
Yeah.
Freewheeling kids that just went out there, jumped off the trees, hung from the trees. Oh, we fell. Oh, we broke our arm. Well, big deal. Nobody questioned it.
Yeah.
You didn't have doctors questioning every little thing. Why'd you break your arm? Why'd you do it? Well, because I fell out of a tree because we were having fun. You know what I mean? It happens in life. And I think we've gotten so far away from that society that's what the problem we're running into. And the parents are now like, well, I don't want you to be a kid. I want you to have all this stress on you right now. So if you're not winning, you can't talk to me.
Yep.
I have parents that say that, and I'm like, well, that's a little. Your kid's 9 years old. I mean, where do you expect them to be?
So, what are you going to do when your kids do get older and are going to be coached? Right? Brad is laughing. He's like, oh my God, I pity the coach. But seriously, I mean, because Coach, you're pretty fucking intense.
I am, and I think that. I'm intense for the reasons of.
I think you're intense for the right reasons.
I want people to work to their potential. I'm tired of people not working to what they could be. I'm tired of people living up to a standard that it's here when their potential's here. And I think that's why I get mad. Do I get mad at my kids sometimes when I see that they don't do things? I mean, there's no question about it. I think we all should be upset when they're not doing what they should. They're not cleaning their rooms when I told them to, or they're not doing this, they're not picking up after themselves. It gets me upset. It gets me really mad. But when it comes to sports, I'm going to sit back. I really am. I'm going to be honest. I don't want to be that because I've seen it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the reason. I've seen it where the parents have been way overbearing on the coach. Listen, that coach might not be great, 100%. But here's your two choices. Wait till the end of the season, and then you move them to another program because, hey, listen, the coach isn't good or whatever.
Not working out.
I have no problem with that, with somebody switching programs like that. Mid-season, I do have a problem. I think it teaches a kid that, hey, it's okay. When it doesn't go
Yeah,
your way, you can
you
quit.
quit.
You can quit
builds a
and
quitter.
stuff like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't
Yeah.
like that. But I think there's other ways, and I think he's the coach, whether he's a volunteer or paid. Let him do his job. Just like I don't want people coming in and telling me how to do my job. I'm not going to go and tell them how to do their job.
What do you think? You're going to, possibly have kids, at some point in time. I mean, being an ex-athlete like you, I mean, do you think you'll fall, into the realm of some of these parents? I mean, it's tough. I mean, what happens if your child comes and you want to, do this or, do that, and it's against what you sort of believe?
I definitely won't be the kind of parent that we just saw it there. Like, I would not go out of my way to embarrass myself or a coach, but I mean, if there was something that I really did not believe in that the coach was doing, maybe I'd pull him aside, like, later, like after practice, or ask him if I can talk to him some certain time, but I would not embarrass myself or.
Are college coaches approachable from parents? Like, could your parents have went up to them and said, hey, because you played under a couple different ones.
Yeah.
Could they have? Did they have an open door policy at that level?
I wouldn't say so much for the parents. Not that they're not willing to talk to the parents, but
Let me ask you this: would you have been comfortable going in to talk about playing time?
oh yeah, I have.
Mm-hmm. How do you approach that?
It really depends on the coach.
Mhm.
Like O'Brien, he had a open door policy. You could catch him off guard, go right up to his office and spit out whatever you had to get off your chest. Franklin, you had to schedule a meeting and what you wanted to meet about. I mean, every coach has their different.
Could he deny the meeting?
I'm sure that he could. I mean, I don't think he has.
Okay.
But yeah, every coach is a little different.
Give you some butterflies going in there to talk, or were you, did you have that conviction of saying, hey, I really see myself as.
I mean, I feel like anytime you go to talk to a head coach, you're gonna have some kind of feelings like that. But I mean, yeah, I approached him with confidence, what I believed in. Had to get off my chest what I had to get off, and sometimes it goes the way that you want to, sometimes it doesn't.
Absolutely. I remember telling, some parents in the field hockey community that Katie had graduated with that had some issues, with playing time or position or whatever. And I'm like, listen, I definitely would not approach coach with playing time. I would approach her and say, how can I make myself better to help the team, to maybe get on the field some more, something like that. But if you steamroll right in there to a coach and say, I want more playing time, I think you leave the door open to just get yourself bashed in the face.
Yeah.
Because it's more of a defensive move then, the coach is like, whoa, compared to where it's more of a conversation. If you're going in there asking a question like, how can I better myself to better the team, to get, maybe in this position, or where do you see me fitting, within the team structure and things like that. I think too many parents have gone on to go on the other side of the tracks and been like, right in there. And then all of a sudden it just escalates and makes the situation, so bad.
I agree. I think you have to take that approach like you just said. And I think it has to be, as you get up the ranks, as you get older, it has to come from the players.
Yeah.
If you're in high school, listen, it's on you. You got to start growing up, and you go in and find out. My father was like, listen, if you're not playing, don't come to me. Ask your coach what you can do to be better.
Yeah.
To help yourself get more playing time. Not, hey, you need to play me. No, ask him what you need to do, just like you said. But he made me do it.
Yeah.
Because he said, you're the one who's playing. I'm not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you don't play, you don't play. What do you want me to say? I guess you weren't the best.
Yeah.
So I guess you got to work harder. And that's what he always instilled in me, even though he was a non-athletic guy whatsoever. Never played a sport in his life. That's just what he said. And I wish more parents would take that approach. Mm-hmm. Let my kid solve this, because they're going to have to solve these problems in life, in all aspects of life, as they get up. Now, I understand if they're 7, 8 years old, it's probably a little difficult. They don't know what the heck they're doing. But as they start getting up in that high school range, and then stuff, and even college, I know some parents that have try to go on to coaches in college, Division I schools. You need to play my son more,
Yeah.
and the college coach is laughing and then cutting them next year.
Yeah.
So I'm not dealing with that. I don't need to deal with your parents.
Yeah.
The hell, you're a 19-year-old, a 20-year-old, supposedly called man, and I have to deal with your mom and dad? Doesn't make any sense to me. They still wiping your nose when you sneeze? I mean, what's going on?
So you heard it here, from two very highly respected individuals within the athletic community. You can talk to the coach, but approach them correctly. And just don't go and ask about specific playing time. Approach it on how you can better the team, and don't take the selfish side.
Yeah.
I would, right? I mean,
Yeah, when I approached them, I don't know if it came off that way. I didn't come at them like I need to play more. I did exactly what you said. What can I do to get on the field? Is there anything that I can do to make myself better?
and how, and let's be honest, how did that work out for you?
It didn't work out well.
Yeah,
It
I
didn't
mean,
work. You can approach it in the right way, and you still might not get the
you might
answer
not
that you
get,
want.
and that's
You
what
just gotta suck it up.
and that's what coaches is talking about. Like, you're not always going to get the answer that you want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have the dialogue, I think, though.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't go in and get the dialogue, and if they're not, and hopefully they were honest with you in whatever they had told you, but if you don't go in and ask that question, you're going to beat yourself up.
Yeah, I agree. I think you definitely have to have that and do it the right way.
Yeah.
And just approach it the correct way, like you'd want to be approached. I mean, imagine yourself, you're that coach. You know what I mean? Especially with these youth coaches in high school, how much do they really make?
Oh my God.
They probably put more time in. They probably lose money away from their families and things like that. And a lot of them do it because they want to do it.
Yeah.
There's some in for the wrong reason, don't get me wrong. But the majority of them do it because they want to do it. So if they're giving that amount of time, come on. We got to be a little more respectful. I'm not saying they're always right. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a big fan of all coaches out there. But if they're doing it for the right reasons and they're trying to help you get better as a person, not just as an athlete, but as a person,
Yeah.
they give them the respect. You know what I mean? At the end of the day. So
And I think you said it right there, is these, well, first of all, at the like little league level, or at the Pee Wee football level, or at the the child soccer level, they're not getting paid.
No.
It's all free.
Yeah.
It's like volunteer.
Yeah.
And these guys and girls are getting their balls broke all the time by these parents.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy shit, I'm doing this just for free. Like,
I'm trying to help out. Yeah,
like,
you're right.
Now when you get up to the, I think that junior high, coaches start to get paid.
Yeah, you do a little bit.
A little bit from the, and then college, different levels, and, but again, it becomes more of a job when you get to the college level,
Yeah. Oh,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, whether it was Paterno, O'Brien, or Franklin, you better be winning.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if there's 6,000 seats because you suck and you're losing, and there's 6,000 seats that are empty because they didn't get filled, that's X amount of dollars to a business.
Yep.
At the end of the day, my friends,
Yeah.
that
College sports is a business.
I don't care what anyone
Yep.
says. It's a business.
Yep.
And whether it's Penn State, Nebraska, USC, it's a business at that level.
Yes.
When you're charging for things.
Yep.
And for someone like you to be as successful as you were, especially, and I know I go back to this, I sound like a broken record, but for you to be as successful as you were from a small town and a small school says a lot about your character and you as a person, because, how many coaches are coming here? Now with the facility that just opened up, down the street, volleyball and basketball, I mean, it's a mecca. Field hockey, it's a mecca. But, they have some football, clinics there and stuff like that. But those football clinics had just started to really pick up. They sure in the hell weren't around the day, we were in there, right? I mean, you didn't have that, You didn't have a place where all the coaches came and you had 10,000 basketball players there. And there's Duke and Florida and Michigan and all these, big time UNC programs in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't have that. Like, you had to go to, like, if you wanted to go to Penn State, you had to go to their football camp.
Yeah.
With
You're right.
with how many 5,000-6,000 other kids.
Yeah, whatever it was.
You know, like that's how we had to do it. Now things are so specialized to put kids in, specific programs and showcases, and and hell, so there's some kids that literally just train just Division One. Like they might have sucked in high school, but they trained so well in specific testing to get seen by Division One coaches that's how they got in.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy on how things have evolved within the industry and within sports, to do that.
Yeah.
I
agree.
That's pretty much how I got into the NFL. I mean, college, I had 4 carries, 23 yards. I mean, I played a lot of special teams, but the reason I really made it to the NFL was just because of Pro Day. Pro Day put up good numbers. Got seen that way.
I want to talk about this Frank Martin. He has, about this video here, he talks about parents coaching from the stands. And I have to be honest, it's for sure something that has happened in the field hockey world. Pull left, shoot from the circle, do this. Why didn't you do that?
Seen when my team's playing. I go watch my kids play. I don't say boo. I don't wave my arms. I don't try to coach my kids. With all due respect to most parents out there, I probably know more about basketball than most of them. Okay? But I sit in the stands and I don't say a word. There's 2 guys refereeing a 4th grade game on a Sunday morning. What can they possibly be making? $20 a game? I used to do that. I used to make $12 for 10 and under, 15 for 15 and under, and 17 or 18 bucks for high school age kids. Okay? So on a Sunday morning, instead of being in church, those guys are out there trying to make a couple bucks to pay their bills, feed their families. Do you think they really care what 4th grade team wins? Do you really think that they sat at home and said, I can't wait to officiate that game tomorrow? Because that one team, I can't wait to get that 10-year-old kid and embarrass him in front of people. Do you really think that's what they're doing?
Guys, that's so right.
Okay.
But that's the mentality that these parents think that
refs against me.
Yeah, they're not comprehending. Holy crap! They're yelling at these refs. Now, given I listen. I have been there, and there's been many times I'm like, that ref sucks.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm also looking at it that at the level he's talking about, there's refs that there's parents that are flipping out in the stands, doing that,
So there's someone that's giving of their personal time on a Sunday for free to help others people's children, yet we're going to have the adults in the stands yelling obscenities at the officials, criticizing every decision the coach makes, yelling at the kids they're 10 years old, man. If there were LeBron James and Dwayne Wade playing in the NBA Finals, the kids, they're 10 years old, man. If there were LeBron James and Dwayne Wade playing in the NBA Finals, they know how to handle their coach over here and their parent over here yelling at them. Then we wonder why kids get confused, man, why kids rebel, why kids don't know how to listen. How can you listen when you got so many voices in your head at the same time? You know what life teaches you? Shut things off. And that's the part that's frustrating to me. It's if someone wants to be so animated when there's a basketball game going on,
So,
then go coach the team. Go run practices.
did you have parents? This is more for you. Did you have parents, whether in high school or college, if say, if you would have played, we would have won, or things like that. I think that's probably one of the most detrimental things parents can do. That's the
Puts
that's
a lot of weight on
it
their
does.
child.
It does. And and he's speaking of that. I think you get into these situations where these parents they put the pressure on and they say, well, Mary really sucks, and if you were in, you would have, you would have made the difference, I mean, how often do you
I
see?
hear it all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? If that coach would have done this, it's just a never-ending battle. It's a never-ending battle with people always saying that they know more. They always know more than the coach and blah, blah, blah. And because I coached 1 year. I coached basketball 1 year and I coached soccer 1 year. And my soccer, it ended pretty abruptly in the sense of I couldn't take it anymore because every parent thought they knew more. And so I told him one time, I said, all right, here's what I get paid. Okay, here are your hours. Here's what time the bus leaves. Here's what time it returns.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go ahead. And they all looked at the schedule, and when it broke down the hour-wise, it really was losing money.
Yeah.
From working. And they all looked at me, and I was like, if you can't handle it, then shut up.
Yeah.
Because I don't come into your business and tell you how to run your job.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that your son's not playing with. If you saw your son, but that's right, you're not at practice, you're at work making a lot of money. You're not watching your son practice, and he's not practicing very hard. So just because he's a great athlete, I'm not putting him on the field because he's not putting in at practice time.
Yeah.
So if you don't like it, like I said, you can take him. You can take him anywhere else. I could care less.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm going to play the guys that work the hardest.
Yeah.
And that's just how it works with me. Coaches don't always do that. Sometimes they bend over backwards for this parent because they don't want to have to deal with it. But at the end of the day, you got to stay firm to your convictions.
Yeah.
My conviction is, hey, listen, I'm going to play the guys that are the best, but also work the hardest. And that's what it has to be.
Yeah.
But you're right. I think there's a lot of parents that did that. Not one parent took me up on it, and not one parent said a word the rest of the season. Not one said a word. Because I looked at them and said, anybody still want to take this job? And they all kind of looked at me, and I'm like, it's here.
Exactly.
You might have to get out of work early. You might have to skip. But your boss going to let you do that?
Yeah.
I'm waiting for it. No? And then I told him again, I said, shut your mouth.
Yep.
So I got set.
What, being that you're a professional athlete and being that you're, such a high-level coach, recently, with the movie Concussions that have come out,
Mm-hmm.
is it something that scared you? You're still trying to live this dream? And, being, older and certainly we have taken, I can definitely look back and know how many times, like, oh, shit, like I definitely know 3 solid concussions that I had. Didn't take a week off, Katie had a concussion and my God, it was, they had her off forever, do this with your eyes.
Yep.
I had a concussion on Friday and I was watching film Saturday and practice Monday,
Yep.
Does that not scare you, Brandon?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I got knocked out of the league from a concussion.
So you're living it.
Yeah. When I think about it, yeah, it does scare me because, I don't know the long-term effects that it's going to have. I mean, I feel like I kind of have some kind of side effects right now, but it's nothing that's like...
But you still want to put on the helmet and play.
Yeah, hell yeah, I love it.
Right?
I don't know, I just can't stop. But yeah, concussions. The movie Concussion, that actually did scare me. I turned that shit off. I couldn't even finish it. And then seeing all the CTE shit.
Makes it real.
Yeah, I can't listen to it.
Is it tough, you being a trainer at your level and a coach, knowing a child has a dream, and maybe knowing the effects? I mean, how do you coach someone like that?
You mean somebody who had a concussion?
No, somebody who wants to, be a NFL professional athlete, and that, there could be ramifications the rest of your
Dave
life.
does not care about stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
in all honesty, I'm one of those kind of people that you have to prepare
Yep.
for what could come. But as long as you're prepared and you did everything right, it can still happen.
Absolutely.
But are we going to live in fear our whole life? And I think
Yeah.
a lot of people live in fear. We have so much more technology. And I'm not talking about helmets because helmets don't prevent concussions. So listen to me right now. They do not prevent concussions. I don't care what anybody says. They do not. They were designed to prevent skull fractures because when they were put in after the leather helmets came out,
Yeah.
they were put into effect to prevent skull fractures because how many people were breaking their skulls. So helmets don't do that. What you need to do is get on a comprehensive program that strengthens the neck.
Yes.
They have proven, and it's documented facts, that people who have stronger necks, bigger, thicker necks, tend to have less concussions. And here's the case in point. Males, even though we all talk about football, the number one sport for concussions is female soccer because of the small necks. So that should be that should be a wake up to every single parent out there. If you want your best for your kid,
Why don't we hear about that?
because it's not it's easy to push the NFL, right? Let's be honest.
It's
The
$1 billion
NFL's a
business.
$1 billion business.
That's right.
So you can take it. What's soccer?
Yep.
You know what I mean? Even female soccer. We don't even have a professional league in the United States anymore. So it's not a huge industry. But this is the number one thing. But when you ask parents that, they all say football, which, granted, you're going to collide. You're going to have some of those issues. But female soccer is up there. If we do a better job in my field and parents understanding that, hey, listen, we need to strengthen the necks more, you should do it. Ask Brandon. Every single kid, whether you play chess, whether you play golf, whatever, you do neck exercise when you come in part of your warm-up with mom.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I don't need to do this. I said, besides the heart, what's the second most important thing you got in your body?
Brain.
The brain.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you protect it? You want to lift weights to build biceps and your back muscles and all this kind of stuff. That stuff mostly can be repaired. Once your brain's damaged, what have we done to fix your brain? Nothing. We don't have any kind of technology to fix a brain. So why aren't we doing more to combat that? So when Brandon says that, I don't really worry about it, I don't. Because I know what we're doing is everything out there possible to make sure. Can it still happen? 100% yes. I try to do everything to prevent ACLs, mitigate the ACL injury, the ankle issues, but I'm trying to do everything I can. And that's why I try to do all the research I can. Not living 5 years from now or 10 years in the past. I'm trying to continually upgrade what we're doing to make sure that these athletes have the best, not equipment, but the best knowledge of their body and how to take care of it.
So what we need to do is we need to get the mainstream media somehow to really focus on the truth of the concussion background and less on like the President Trump and Stormy Daniels story, that listen.
That's not going to happen.
I know, right? I had Stormy at an event one time, so I personally know her. So I'm like, that was a few years ago, long time ago. So I find it funny, but my point in somewhat, I'm not making a joke of the concussions at all. I'm making a joke of the mainstream media, is that there's a perfect example that your education of strengthening the neck and the soccer as being the problem, and but the mainstream media goes after what can sell, what's selling. The NFL sells, people like Brandon sell. Look how big he is, look how massive he is, and look, he's going to be fragile at this age, and he's going to might commit suicide or things like that because of this, and because they can play it up. It sells tickets, it sells hits, it sells whatever it sells views online. That's what they're selling. And the problem is that the real facts are there that could benefit someone like him or the kids underneath him. That's the big thing. It's like, why aren't people fixing those things? That's the sad part.
That's my biggest dilemma with parents of today when it comes to youth sports, because I hear too many, and they don't all work with me, but I hear about them. Hey, I had a concussion here. My kid's out for 2 weeks with a concussion. Well, what are you doing about it? Well, nothing. They told him to take 2 weeks off. What are you doing afterwards? Right? What would you do if they had an ACL tear? You would go get rehab, make
Correct.
sure it doesn't happen, hopefully again. Ankle. Parents don't do that. Parents do not realize the ramifications, what could happen down the road. Just like Brandon said, he doesn't know right now. He said he feels pretty good. We don't know. You and I probably I played soccer. I remember banging my head on the soccer pole. You know what I mean? Trying to dive and save a ball. It happens in life. We bang our heads. What are we doing? But now we do know, how to help mitigate this epidemic. Why aren't parents waking up at all sports and realizing that we should be strengthening the neck? They're not. And it's the most frustrating thing to me, because we know here, this is what we know. We know how to help mitigate this. Why aren't you doing it?
What do you find as being a gym owner, a facility? What are other places doing?
In all honesty, I don't know a lot of people at all. You take the impact test, which they have now, and what is your trainer, your athletic trainer, and your doc says take 2 weeks off. Not prescribing, hey, listen, you need to get into it. So the doctors aren't being educated enough, and the athletic trainers aren't being educated enough. At Penn State, did you have neck exercise you had to do? If it were manual exercise, I don't care, any kind of neck exercises.
Yeah, with Fitz there was, but
It's on O'Brien.
under O'Brien there was, but once he left, no. Like, but Fitz didn't do it for like the concussions. Like, he just thought like the neck was just an important part. Like,
Well, yeah. But at the end of the day, he still did what was right.
yeah,
Maybe he didn't say it was for concussions. Maybe deep down he knew it was.
yeah.
But he just didn't tell you because you guys were like, well, okay, whatever.
I'm just saying, like, you are probably the first one that I actually heard. You know, the neck will help prevent, or not prevent, but reduce the risk for a concussion. But I mean, other than that, I've never heard anyone do anything to limit the risk.
Prime example, I had a girl who was playing basketball, 9th grader. Got hit, pushed from behind, slammed her head into the wall. Paralyzed her whole opposite side. So she got hit, I think, on the left, right side went paralyzed. All from a concussion. She's still to this day not fully 100% recovered. Now, am I saying she would have done neck exercise, she wouldn't have had the injury? I can't. I'm not God.
Yeah,
and I'll never play God.
Yeah.
But maybe could we lessen the severity of it? Maybe she wouldn't have. I mean, these are all things that, is it going to hurt her to have a stronger neck? No.
Yeah.
And if you're a parent out there and you say, well, my daughter doesn't want to have a thick neck like a man, it's not going to happen. It's already been proven once again, females' necks will get stronger. They will not get bigger.
Yeah.
So they're not going to have these massive necks like guys get, you know, who really work out and stuff like that, you know, 18, 19-inch necks. They're not going to have that. They're going to have stronger necks. We're going to be able to absorb the impact and stuff like that. You can look back on YouTube and Mike Tyson, some of his workouts, okay? Look at some of the stuff he did, stuff that people thought, this guy's an idiot. His main thing was strengthening his neck. And if you think back, Mike Tyson had a thick neck.
Oh, he was
thick
a
as hell.
monster.
His neck almost like, he almost had no chin because it just went right out there, his
Yeah.
neck. But how many concussions? I'm not saying he's the smartest man in the world, but how many concussions or anything did you ever hear about Mike Tyson having? And taking a beating like that over and over and
absolutely.
over again. Now, like I said, long term, he's still, you know, whatever, he's in his 50s or whatever now. We'll see later on.
Correct.
But you would think somebody who took that kind of a beating should have already done what everybody else in the NFL has already done.
Yeah.
You know, with the CTE and all his head, you know, I mean, he should have been, you know, ready to kill himself already. But he hasn't. And you can think back, maybe he was onto something. You know, those trainers back then were onto something. Hey, we need to strengthen our neck. And a lot of wrestlers do it. I'll be honest, a lot of wrestlers do it. But outside that genre, the boxing and wrestling, football's starting to get into it more. But female soccer needs to do it.
Yeah.
Female soccer has to start doing it. Male soccer has to do it because they're also on the rise.
Yeah.
But all these sports have to do it. I have softball girls that come to me and say, yeah, my daughter had a concussion. You know what I mean? This is happening, but you're not understanding the long-term effects, and that's what we need to really start working on, is getting that message out.
Now, we did, back in our high school football program, our coaches were Notre Dame. So they had gone out to a couple football camps and got their lifting programs. And so back in, from 86 to 90, we did work our necks. That was part of our program. Now back then they had a belt that went around your head, and you did this, or you put the 45-pound plate, in the middle of your forehead with a towel, and did that.
They didn't know any better, but it worked.
It worked,
Exactly.
exactly.
We're still doing the same things. They just developed these machines to do it now.
Well, and here we just pulled up a video of different neck exercises, and how many people, like you said, you're teaching that. But why aren't other, high-level trainers at your level teaching these things? And let me tell you why. Because it's all about the fucking money. It's not about actually training the kid. Listen, I go to a fucking gym, and I hate it. I mean, these things are the death of the gym.
Yeah.
I mean, I get yelled at by old people. If I'm at a Planet Fitness, I'm like, because they only have one of this, and I'm like, hey, can I work in with you? And first of all, I'm a bigger guy. They're just like, you're not supposed to be in here, and then they're like on their phone, or something like that. And the problem is that I see as many trainers on their fucking phones with people. I would be paying $40 or $100 or whatever, and oh my God, if my trainer was on their phone, maybe if they're looking at my workout, perfect. But son of a bitch, I mean, there's no way, But like you just said. Everyone thinks that they're going to get a neck, the size of, these guys, and it's not that it's not that case. I mean, and in this video, I mean, look how important that whatever this team is. What is it? The Sports Concussion Prevention and Treatment. so that they know the neck is
Yes.
part of the. Why, Coach? Why isn't it more mainstream?
It's just for some reason. I mean, look at that. All right, Brandon, look at that. Would that be something you'd really want to do? Be honest. I mean, as an athlete, if you're paying to go train with somebody, would you really want to do that? I mean, not knowing anything about concussions, that you're a female, would you want to do that? Is that making you a better athlete?
No, it looks.
That's how they
not-
see it, though.
Exactly.
They see it as it's not making me a better athlete. The problem is, it is making them a better athlete.
Right.
It's making them a more durable, a stronger athlete. They've actually proven stuff that stronger necks can help out with other parts of the body to make them stronger. But because we're not getting that information out, boom. And plus, let's be honest. You can do these exercises, and let's say you do your chest. You can see the increase in your
Correct.
chest. Hey, yeah, look at my chest getting bigger. I went from 185. Now Brandon does, hell, I just videoed him doing 315 a couple times. You know, monster. Freaking running back doing 315. But what's he doing here? He's taking a freaking rubber band, wrapping around. Oh, am I getting stronger? I don't, you know what I mean? That's people's
the
perception.
mentality.
Yes. And that's what, but let's be honest. You say YouTube. Go YouTube all this crap. People take videos of what? Not them doing neck exercise unless you're explaining the drill. They're taking pictures in the gym of me flexing in the mirror, me doing bicep curls, me doing, my calf raises.
And giving that
whatever.
illusion that
Exactly.
that could be you.
And I think that's the problem with a lot of parents. You've got to get over it. And it just because it isn't the cool exercise, it still has to be done. Like we still do a lot of ankle exercises. Even though a kid might not have an ankle issue, we do walks on our heels, walks on our toes. It's part of our warm up. Most of my kids will get down, get a band, and they'll work their ankle, and they're like, well, I don't have ankle issues. Good. Don't ever get them. You know, I mean, that's my goal. I don't want you to have these common injuries that everybody else has because it just lays you up in the long run. Let's mitigate these things before they get out of control.
Yeah. Well, guys, I have to tell you, this was, an amazing experience, sitting here, getting to talk to high-level, gentlemen like yourself, especially from the sports training world. I wish more coaches and trainers were like you. I think, unfortunately, there's a lot of softness out there, as you would say. And somehow we have to we have to try to fucking eradicate that. But
That's going to be hard, baby.
Yeah, but I think, unfortunately, the dollar, comes down to it. And Brandon, I wish you all the success. I mean, total badass in my mind, man. I mean, coming back, from the injuries like you did, having the heart, the drive, keep killing it in whatever your dream is and whatever level you're going to play at. Keep being that role model. Look at those little kids, because you are their everything. You are the dream. You don't have to be on the Wheaties box or on the front page of ESPN. You're there in that gym. So they're physically able to see and maybe touch, and you know what I mean? You're that. Like, you're the dream, and see yourself as that. Because you have accomplished, dude, I'm telling you, you went from, and I'm being real, like you went from being nothing in a little Middletown, PA, with a 1.7 to where you're at today, dude, like, congrats, man.
I appreciate it.
I mean, you really, you have to really respect the work that you put in and what you really bring to the table to a lot of people. You're going to keep killing it in life. Fuck, dude, I know you are. It's either that or you're going to kill somebody.
That's the problem, man. That's the problem.
Because I know your personality, and that's why I've always loved, like, I wish I would get to the gym more, with Katie. But, I mean, like, when I get there, I love just seeing the atmosphere because, like I said, when I grew up and I started lifting, like, Dorian Yates was, like, he was the guy. And he was the guy because he wasn't in Venice. He was the guy in the UK training in the fucking basement with sweatshirts on because they didn't have heat, and it's 38 degrees.
Sounds like my gym, huh?
Yeah.
Pretty damn close.
Right? But that makes you tough, Or do you want to go to the really, the cute little place with the new paint and the new plates and this and that, and have your trainer on the phone and say, "Oh, okay, great job," let me text, what do you want,
Yeah.
I want this guy because I know if I go to this guy, I'm going to become and have the possibility of becoming this guy. If I have the right genetics and everything else, that is the possibility.
Yeah.
But listen, I am inspired by you two. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I think you guys were amazing. The conversation was, perfect. But
No, we thank you.
Yeah,
Man.
thanks
I
for having
appreciate
us.
greatly. I think this podcast is going to be big time.
well, thank
I
you.
like the way you present it, but I like the way you it's just flow, man. Just go. You know what I mean? Talk about anything, go. It's not like you said, you're not politically correct.
No.
You know what I mean? I think today's society, everybody has to be politically correct. Or you're not going to get anywhere. And it irritates me to no end. Be who you are, be what you want to be, and then go out there and accomplish what you got to get
Yeah.
done. So I appreciate you having us on.
Thank
I'm
you.
very honored.
Yeah, thanks
Honored.
for having us.
Thank you.